So I have this book haul arrayed before me on a folding table, and it is extremely too many books. So let's just jump into this here. Fire Upon the Deep by Vernor Vinge. This is my all-time favorite science fiction book. I recommend that you read it if you have never read this, if you've never read a science fiction book, if you are capable of opening your eyes and drawing breath. I recommend that you read this. And if you'd like to buy it from me, I have an Etsy shop where I sell books. Sorry to shill for this right off the bat, but this is the first book up, so here we go. Every book that you buy, I make $5. They're priced just to reflect how much I got them for and the fees and shipping. So if you feel like throwing me $5 and getting a book out of the deal, there's a link to the Etsy shop in the description to the video. Here is a vintage rack and roll UK binding paperback. Murdered megastar bitch Alice's last request. Destroy the American space program. Here is the entirety of the Mindstar Rising. I don't know if that's actually the name of the series. Trilogy of books. The Nano Flower. Peter F. Hamilton constantly recommended to me. I have not read him. The two big ones that I haven't read in terms of space opera are Peter Hamilton and Ian Banks' Prelude to Foundation by Asimov. By Isaac. A Second Chance at Eden by Peter F. Hamilton. This is dope. Mirror Shades, the Cyberpunk Anthology by Bruce Sterling, including Greg Bear, William Gibson, and some other ones that I've not heard of. Oh, by the way, stick around at the end of the book. Jesus Christ. Stick around until the end of the book, because I have found the #1 most valuable, rarest, most incredible book I've ever found while sourcing for books for myself, for resale, whatever. This is the holy grail, the holy shit book that I found. Here it is. No spoilers. This is all wrapped up to prevent damage because it is that valuable, and that is coming last, and you're not allowed to skip ahead. You have to look at all of these first. A hard copy of Three from the Legion by Jack Williamson. Piers Anthony, Vision of Tarot. Janet and Asimov. Norby Through Time and Space, more Asimov robots. It's got a cool cat on it. This is a signed copy of an Orson Scott Card book, treasure box. There is the autograph. I've not looked this up. I don't know how much it is worth. And I get all of these books from thrift stores, from Book Off, from library book sales, and a handful of them from bookstores. Cryptonomicon by Neil Stephenson. I have this in the mass market binding, but I didn't have this big flopper. So now I have it, and it has this annoying ass photo of Stevenson. This does not inspire confidence in me to read one of his books. I know that people love him, but I mean, come on, man. High Rise by J.G. Ballard. This is a gift from my brother, who bought me a bunch of genre books that are trickling in through the mail for my birthday. John Brunner, The Shockwave Rider. This is the one that my brother emphatically recommends to me from Brunner. Apparently Brunner was a big influence on Philip K. Dick. Also from the brother, Song of Kali by Dan Simmons. This was a very good guess on his part. This is one of his horror books. I think he's like half for half horror and sci-fi. And I was on the lookout for this. And also for my brother, Stand on Zanzibar by John Brunner. His classic, his most famous, as far as I know. Here's a few from actually today. This is my favorite find, other than the one that's the big record setter. Jack Vance. Just love this cover. I love Vance. I've not read enough Vance. Everything that I read from Vance, I adore. And this was nestled in a box of children's books that I happened just to rummage through. The Many Worlds of Magnus Ridolf. I hope that I land on that at some point during the random pick. I bought this out of a sense of obligation, Brandon Sanderson, because I have formed a completely unfair and biased impression of him as a pulp fantasy writer. I feel like I will not like it, but I am completely 100% open to being wrong. He's the #1, he's the top dog in adult fantasy right now, and I've never read him, so this is going in the book roulette pile. Here's a guy that I have read, Kim Stanley Robinson, 2312. I've read Red Mars, and it's superb, one of my favorites ever, and this is really well regarded as another masterpiece. So I was on the lookout for that. I got it for like 50 cents or something. Fuzzies and Other People. This is a series that was, I think, fairly popular, the Fuzzies series. I really, really, really like the cover a lot. I don't have the first Fuzzy, but I just love vintage sci-fi in general, and especially these hardcover sci-fis, even if they're book club editions, which I think this one is. Wool by Hugh Howley. I already have a copy, so one of them is going up for sale. I finally found a copy of the first Foundation, which unlocks the Foundation trilogy. I have about 30 Foundation books, I think, at this point. A mint condition copy of Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I have a copy of it that has the movie art, but this is way better. Got this for $2. 2 books, he says. So one of these is gonna be sold. Kick-Ass Frank Frazetta cover Conan the Avenger paperback that I got from a Goodwill for $1. Super sweet. A very obscure, to me at least, Joe Haldeman book. Haldeman wrote The Forever War, which is one of my favorite ever sci-fis. And this one, called The Hemingway Hoax, looks weird as shit. And I don't know if I'm gonna keep it or if I'm gonna let one of you have it, because it's cool. Blood Trillium by Julian May, a really nice, almost mint condition hardcover copy that I got from the same Goodwill. She wrote a series of sci-fi books that people have recommended to me many times after I sold the first 2 books in the series to someone on Etsy, which I slightly regret, but I have 5 billion books that I haven't read, so no harm, no foul, same author. I think this is like a well-liked series. Abarat by Clive Barker, the most disappointing author to me ever. But this is one of his young adult books, I think, and it's pretty beautiful. It's really illustrated. I initially thought that this was the Mongoloid trilogy, but is in fact the Mongoliad, thankfully, trilogy by Neil Stephenson, Greg Bear, Mark Teppo, and a bunch of others. So that's book 1, book 2, and book 3. They were letting these go for $1 each. So that is the first 3. I don't know if there were more, but 3 of them. If you want a big fat stack of Mongoliad, then these 2 can be yours. I got this probably for $1 or less. Modern science fiction, this is essays about sci-fi written in, looks like the early 60s is my guess, late 50s maybe. Let's see how smart I am. Not very smart, 1953. So this is already up on the Etsy. A copy of Franz Kafka's The Castle. This is the sequel to The Trial. Kafka, I think I've mentioned him once on the channel. One of my favorite authors. I tend not to talk about litfic as much as sci-fi, but Kafka is in my top 5 for litfic, and this was a missing piece of my Kafka library, and got this for free out of somebody's front yard. They had it just sitting out there for the taking. I did not steal it off of somebody's porch. They had a little free library. It's another one for my brother, Sarah Canary. This is a strange pick. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's sci-fi. I don't know anything about it, but I have it. Some more that I got today. Here is a copy of The Handmaid's Tale. I have a first edition mass market, so this is gonna be going up for sale along with the long-awaited sequel, The Testaments, and a nice hardcover. So these are gonna be lotted up. I got this really cool vintage copy of The Master and Margarita. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this or not. A very sweet vintage copy of Tatiana Grimm's World by Werner Vinge. This is, Tatya Grimm's World, not Tatiana. This is considered a bad book, but it's got a sweet kick-ass hot babe on the cover. This is nuts. Here's a vintage copy of The Claw of the Conciliator by Gene Wolfe. This is the second book in the Book of the New Sun trilogy, and he had this on offer for $3.25. Hell yes, I'll take it, and this is staying with me, as is The Sword of the Lictor by Gene Wolfe. And I got this copy of a Babylon 5 book for $4.25. I should be able to flip this on eBay or somewhere for like 30 bucks and help cover the cost of those books that I bought. Here's some that I got today. Kelly Wilde's Mastery, a sweet looking vintage horror. Here's a vintage copy of Lord of the Flies. Another kick-ass horror with a kick-ass cat. This is 4 vintage, I think these are probably New Directions. Yeah, 4 New Directions paperbacks from Gary Snyder. Gary Snyder was a beat poet and also a famous environmentalist. The Backcountry, The Real Work, Earth Household, and Turtle Island with a nice copy ring on it. I don't know how much these are worth. I just bought them based on the strength of what they were. I love these New Directions books. Big, fat, hardcover copy of Great North Road by Peter F. Hamilton. Yeah, I may keep this, may sell it. And then I got a bunch of books from my friend who owns Verbatim Books in San Diego. And she went to an estate sale and found a bunch of vintage sci-fi books for me for 10 cents each, and was kind enough, out of the largesse of her heart, to buy them for me, for which I paid her $1. Christopher Anvil, Pandora's Planet. Never heard of it. Hal Clement's Still River. The second book in the Cities in Flight series. I foolishly sold my hardcover copy of Cities in Flight because I read the Goodreads reviews of it and people were saying, it's old, it's boring. James Blish, I read, thankfully, one of his lesser known books, The Day After Apocalypse or something, and it was great. He's like a superb writer, just in terms of the quality of the prose. So this is his most famous book, Cities in Flight, and I need the first one now. My favorite, Robert A. Heinlein, Between Planets, really cool. Vintage copy. I've never heard of this one. Hal Clement's Starlight. Gordon R. Dixon's The Chantry Guild. This book keeps finding me. A.E. Van Vogt, M33 in Andromeda. This is Warbots, number 6, The Lost Battalion by G. Harry Stein. It has a kick-ass foil cover. This just does not quite belong in my diet. Eric Frank Russell's 3 to Conquer. This looks dope. Eric Frank Russell's The Great Explosion, which brings us to the Mama, to the Jamma. This was such a great find that I actually bought a bag that's out of frame so that I could wrap it up in a bunch of stuff, put it in a bag, and then I stuffed it in my friend's emptied backpack in his car just to make sure it wouldn't get heat damaged if it was sitting in a locked car for too long. This is a first edition, first printing copy of, if you can't read it, The Stand by Stephen King. This is the first of the first. This is the real deal. It's in pretty good shape. And when I found it, I opened it up and there's the price, 25 bucks. Brought it up to the checkout. She was looking for the price and I said, oh, there it is. It's right there. She said, no, that's not our price. This cost $2. So I got a first edition, first printing hardcover of The Stand by Stephen King in fair condition, no major damage, solid spine, for $2. This is worth somewhere between $200 and $500. I looked on eBay, the solds seem to be hovering around the magic $300 mark. This, I think, is probably the most valuable book I've ever found. I can't think of any others that are this valuable or this rare or hold this coveted a place in the pantheon of genre lit. This is a holy grail find that blows everything else in these haul videos out of the water. I am going to sell this. I don't care that much about this to the point where I would sacrifice $300 worth of profit to keep this in a collection. So yeah, I'll be reading all of these in the next couple weeks and giving you some updates about them. Thanks for watching.